Good evening and welcome to UNSW's Postgraduate Info Evening. It's great to have you all joining us here tonight. My name is Nick Fay and I'm the Associate Director of Future Student Recruitment here at UNSW, responsible for all of our international and domestic recruitment activities. And I'm going to be privileged to be joined by an expert panel of our current students to walk us through everything postgraduate. I'd like to begin though by acknowledging the Bidjigal, Gadigal and Ngunnawal peoples, the traditional custodians of the lands in which the UNSW campuses are located, and pay my respects to elders past and present, and extend that respect to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples who might be joining us today. So at UNSW, our mission is clear. It's to advance progress for all. And we do this through transformative education, innovative research, and meaningful engagement with people, communities, and partners. Now, before we kick off, if you have any questions throughout the session, please ask away in the chat and one of our future student advisors will assist you. Or you might be lucky enough to have your question featured during our live Q&A at the very end by our expert panel of current students and myself. So, if you have the same question as well as someone else and you notice it in the chat, I also recommend you upvote it rather than submitting a new one. It'll help us understand what are the most common questions. And again, we'll try to answer as many as we possibly can at the end of the session. A friendly reminder as well that we're going to be moderating the questions, and any that are inappropriate in any way will not be published. So please keep that in mind. And equally, if your question is really specific, particularly relevant to your situation, and maybe less relevant to everyone else joining the call, we'll also make sure that we contact you directly or direct you on as well to our future student advisors to contact you tomorrow as a bit of a follow-up. So let's dive in and take a closer look at why students choose UNSW for their postgraduate studies. Now, UNSW was established in 1949, and we were established really to address a skills gap after the Second World War, particularly in the areas of engineering and science, established as a technical institute. Since then, we've had 75 years of driving progress for all, and now have a student population of over 70,000 students and offer more than 300 programs across undergraduate and postgraduate studies. UNSW is in the top 20 of all universities globally, and we're also now second in Australia. We educate more CEOs than any other university in the country too, with the majority of these coming from across the fields of science. According to the Australian Financial Review, for the past 6 years as well, UNSW has been producing Australia's most employable graduates, and we're absolutely delighted to be able to share a little bit of an insight today into how we're able to establish really the foundational skills that build you up at every single stage of your career. We'll talk you through in a bit of a deep dive how our Careers and Employability Service can provide support to you not only during your studies from day one, but even up to 18 months after you graduate to ensure that you are on that journey and really getting the most out of your studies and all the networking opportunities as well that come from studying at UNSW. So we have a jam-packed agenda for you this evening. During the session, we're going to help guide you on your path to postgraduate studies here at UNSW, including how to choose your postgraduate degree, discussing some of our postgraduate study considerations, and really answering a few frequently asked questions around, study load, when to start, as well as then diving into how to apply and what life as a UNSW postgraduate student looks like, including covering things like student support, networking, and really helpful resources to ensure you get the most out of your studies. We're then going to come back and end with a panel discussion and Q&A with two of our current UNSW postgraduate students. So let's start with choosing your postgraduate degree. There can be different entry or exit points and durations across our postgraduate coursework degrees. Our globally recognized master's degrees, in most cases, take up to 2 years full-time to complete, and each degree has its own set of entry requirements. However, some are only 1 year in duration. For example, our Masters of Public Health, and therefore they may have higher or more extensive entry requirements, such as specifying years of related work experience or having a prior honours degree qualification. We also offer a range of graduate certificates and graduate diplomas, which are shorter programs and typically take 1 year or less to complete. They're perfect if you want a shorter study option rather than committing to a full master's degree, or if you're ineligible for the master's degree and look to articulate through. They may also allow you to, again, really step through those different areas, articulating from the graduate certificate through to the graduate diploma, through into the master's, pending successful completion of the courses that you're doing. But we'll discuss that in a little bit, a little bit more detail later on. And I also really encourage you, and we'll talk also about this, to dive onto our degree finder, because it really will help you understand if there are embedded graduate certificate, graduate diploma options within that overall master's that might set you up to be able to articulate through. So at UNSW Sydney, you can choose to study a postgraduate qualification across a number of study areas. Firstly, our Faculty of Arts, Design and Architecture. This is a massive faculty here at UNSW, which was formed by the joining of Arts and Social Sciences, Design and Fine Arts, and our Built Environment faculties. It's home to a broad range of postgraduate degrees, covering everything from design, education and teaching, translation studies, and many, many more. We also have our UNSW Business School, which is the #1 business school in Australia, as rated by both the QS World Rankings and the Australian Financial Review. We have programs that are taught by this faculty across areas such as taxation, social impact, as well as those programs that are taught by the Australian Graduate School of Management, known affectionately as the AGSM, which is home to our award-winning MBA programs. Next up, we have the Faculty of Engineering, which is also the #1 engineering and technology faculty in Australia. This is a powerhouse of research and teaching, with courses spanning food science and chemical engineering, through to mining, computer science, and more. Next, we have our Faculty of Law and Justice, which is the top law school in Sydney, and home to programs such as our practical legal training, the Juris Doctor, the Master of Laws, and really there is something for everyone in this faculty in terms of their current level of law and legal knowledge and their career trajectory. The Faculty of Medicine and Health is also a research powerhouse, but also teaches into our well-known population health degrees such as our public health, health leadership and management programs, and a range of combined master's options which allow you to do 2 master's programs completed in less than 2 years. They also house the Centre for Big Data and Health, which teaches our world-first health data science programs. Next, we have the Faculty of Science, which is an incredibly broad and diverse faculty, specializing in many, many different areas such as aviation flying and aviation management, through to data science, mathematics, and our Certified Psychology Master's programs. If we move on now to UNSW Canberra, this is delivered in conjunction with the Australian Defence Force Academy and is part of our long-standing partnership with them. And this expertise really allows students to become experts in relevant fields of engineering, cybersecurity, and business and management. Finally, our UNSW online programs. Now, these cover all of our faculties and really leverage the expertise of our academics here at UNSW, because these are a range of fully online programs, again, taught by our award-winning and globally recognized academics in areas such as business, psychology, cybersecurity, and many, many other areas. So, if you're keen to explore these areas of study in more detail, or some of those degrees that we offer within those faculties and those areas of study, our online degree finder is the best place to start. The degree finder is a great tool to use when looking for information on entry requirements and any additional criteria that might be required when applying to UNSW. Now, if you're not sure where to start, you can take our 2-minute personality quiz to find out which degrees may best suit your passions and interests, and I highly recommend you do that. In fact, right now I might actually ask my colleagues in the wings to drop the link in the chat now to that personality quiz. It might be something, I would fully recommend that you stay with us here and take on board some of the information we're going to cover in the next couple of slides, but you might do that on the side as well, and it might give you a bit of an insight into some of the postgraduate studies that you might not even have considered pursuing, but might really complement your career or take you down a whole different path. So, going back to our degree finder, here you can see an example of what our degree finder pages look like. You can search by your area of interest, gain an overview of the structure of a program, the terms that you can start, the duration, the delivery mode, fees, entry requirements, course details, your future career options, and also, of course, how to apply. If applicable, information about Commonwealth-supported places or program-specific scholarships will also be viewable under the fees section. Now, diving a little bit deeper into these pages, you can see examples of what the entry requirements, future careers, and the fees and scholarships tabs look like for an individual degree, the kinds of information that you can find out and really have at your fingertips to ensure that you're making a really informed decision about which program is going to be right for you. Returning to study as a postgraduate student can be a big decision, and for many, there are a lot of considerations that really underpin this. So it's natural that you've probably got many questions as well that you want to cover off. We're now going to dive into a few of those key considerations that we hear from our current postgraduate students, as well as a lot of the postgraduate students that we engage with who are considering what their options are looking like across the board. These cover things such as considerations around study loads, different modes of learning, and really trying to understand what it's like to be a postgraduate student, because it may be very different to what your prior study has looked like. At the core of these questions, though, ultimately, are often that common question around, is this study going to fit in with my lifestyle? So let's dive in and answer each of the following questions. So, can I study part-time? Well, working and studying, can I make it work? And will my classes be online or in person? And also, will my classes be scheduled? So, as we said before, a lot of these questions really can be answered from a central perspective, but on the flip side, many of them also have specific timing questions that are going to vary from course to course and degree to degree. And also depend on the faculty that you're studying in, because they obviously have their own different modes and flavors of teaching, which are really suited to that particular area of study. So for example, classes might be more often for our Masters of Teaching or our Juris Doctor programs, because these generally are taught as more of an accelerated study timeline. When it comes to can you study part-time, well, for most of our programs, if you're a domestic student, you will have the flexibility across your studies to select a part-time or full-time study load, and even swap between the two, depending on the particular term itself, if you wish. Really enabling you to strike a balance in terms of that work-life balance, those different priorities that you might have, so that you can maximize getting the most out of your studies. However, if you are applying as an international student, it is important to know that you aren't able to study part-time on your student visa. So please ensure that you're keeping up with the full-time study load requirements for each term. If you study full-time, you can take 8 courses over the year. Typically, this might look like 3 in term 1, 2 in term 2, and 3 in term 3. Now, if you're studying part-time, you may be studying anywhere from 2 to 5 courses over the academic year. In each term, you'll have a 10-week teaching period plus 3 weeks of exams. If you're unsure whether your program of interest offers part-time flexibility, you can reach out to our future student advisors for assistance. If you study the Graduate Diploma in Psychology or Advanced Psychology, the Graduate Certificate in Child Development, or study with UNSW online, you will instead follow the hexamester calendar. Our hexamesters are designed to deliver 1 course per term with a 6-week teaching period and 1 week of exams, enabling more flexibility to work out how you can balance your particular study desires, your particular degree, with obviously everything else that's going on from a professional and a personal side of things. Another common question which we get is, will my classes be online or in person? Well, at UNSW, we offer a range of face-to-face, online, and hybrid degrees. You can find out more about the delivery modes specific to your program of interest via the Degree Finder. Let's take a simple look here at an example with the Master of Commerce. This program has a face-to-face blended delivery mode, so you may have an online lecture and a face-to-face tutorial, or vice versa. The expectation is that the majority of this program would be attended face-to-face. In terms of the next question, when are my classes scheduled, and can I study and work at the same time? Well, UNSW postgraduate programs are designed for those who are working, so classes, for the most part, are generally in the evening. However, we cannot guarantee that every course will be outside of business hours, so it is worthwhile keeping this in mind and making sure you're doing your research and really understanding how we deliver the particular degree that you're interested in. And the best way to do that, and we'll talk also a bit more about this later on, is engaging with our future student advisors who can really give you that next level of detail down off the back of tonight's presentation. Some programs also offer short course mode teaching, which could include intensives and weekend classes. A reminder again to our international students who are joining us that you are only able to work for 48 hours per fortnight on your student visa. If you have any questions about something we haven't covered or which might be unique to your circumstances, remember to submit your questions through the chat. Our future student team are ready to help. Another common question and consideration is, of course, how much is my postgraduate study going to cost? Well, for our domestic students, some of our postgraduate programs offer Commonwealth Supported Places, or CSPs. These are subsidised by the Australian government and can reduce the student contribution amount, making your studies more affordable. CSPs can be highly competitive and are offered based on academic merit. Now, we only have a limited capacity of CSPs each term, and again, they are based on academic merit and they are really competitive, so it is worthwhile keeping that in mind. For our international students, some nationalities are eligible for the International Student Award. This is 15% off tuition fees for students for the entire duration of their program. Plus, you can combine this award with other scholarships. Students who are from eligible countries will need to submit a personal statement of no more than 500 words outlining their reasons to study their proposed program at UNSW as part of their Apply Online application process. For eligibility, please head to the website where you can view the extensive list of eligible nationalities and terms and conditions. Now, let's talk about how to apply. I appreciate this might not be the most exciting part of tonight's presentation, but it is probably one of the most important. So there are two ways of applying for a postgraduate degree at UNSW. For most programs and all international students, you can apply through our Apply Online portal. For our domestic students, however, some programs require an application through the University's Admissions Centre, also known as UAC. Applications for programs within the School of Population Health, the Juris Doctor, and the Master of Teaching programs are made through UAC. Please see the screen for the current application closing dates for domestic students. Applications submitted after the on-time closing dates are still accepted, but they are subject to available places. Some programs will have individual application periods as well, so it is always worthwhile doing your research up front and allowing yourself sufficient time to apply. Please check the How to Apply tab on the degree page, though, to see any specific application requirements that might be relevant to your particular degree of choice. If you're unsure how to apply for your chosen degree, feel free to message us in the chat and one of our friendly and very knowledgeable future student advisors will be able to assist. Offers for Commonwealth supported places are released weekly until capacity for the program is reached. The offer acceptance deadline is 2 weeks from the date that your offer is received. If a CSP offer does expire, the application may be reassessed in the final offer round. If places are available, you may then receive a new CSP offer. Alternatively though, if all of our CSPs are exhausted for that particular term intake, you may receive a full fee paying offer instead, pending availability. For our international applicants, our Term 3 2025 intake has now closed for applications, but we are already accepting and processing applications for our Term 1 2026 start. So remember to get in early and allow plenty of time to apply, receive an offer, and then ultimately also apply for your visa and enable it to be processed. Now, let's talk about the required documentation that will support your application and you may need depending on the particular degree that you're applying for. Generally, entry requirements are based on academic achievement from your previous academic qualifications. There are some occasions, though, where professional experience may be required or can support your application, but you'll always be made aware of these requirements and they will be listed on the Degree Finder page. Any additional requirements can be found under the Entry Requirements tab on those Degree Finder pages or through the application portal when you go to apply. Our admissions teams will notify you if they require anything further from you after your formal application has been received so that they can process and progress your application. For our international students, you will be asked to provide your English language qualifications. For each degree, this might be different and will differ from undergraduate levels, so please check on the Degree Finder what the specific requirements are for the program that you're looking to study. Now, there are two ways to apply for recognition of prior learning, which is where you get your previous qualifications or prior knowledge, which might also include work experience, counting towards your course credit for your current degree. If you're applying for a degree through UAC, you can lodge an application for recognition of prior learning for credit transfer only after you've accepted your offer to study at UNSW. If you're applying through UNSW Apply Online, just make sure you tick the advanced standing box within the application to indicate that you'd like to be assessed for credit by our admissions office. As part of the UNSW recognition of prior learning policy, students may be offered credits for courses amounting to a maximum of 50% of their degree requirements. However, this will be assessed on a case-by-case basis. Credit can only be awarded for courses completed no more than 10 years prior. And for our international students, be aware that the duration of your program may affect your post-study work rights visa, so make sure you also seek appropriate visa advice and follow any requirements of your student visas alongside applying and then studying with us. So, what does it look like when you become a postgraduate student at UNSW? Whether you're looking to launch your dream career, climb the corporate ladder, or switch careers completely, UNSW has a range of programs to help you expand your industry network and connect with our global alumni community. We have more than 300 clubs and sports teams if you want to be social or active, and a heap of different volunteering opportunities to gain experience and give back to the community. You can find out more details about those on the ARC website. ARC, for those of you who aren't familiar with, is our student organisation. And these aren't just for undergraduate students, these opportunities. We know how critical they are in terms of enabling you to find your community as a postgraduate student. The student support team is always here to help with personalised advice and information about university life, well-being, academic performance, and study skills, UNSW procedures, financial management, and really they are the go-to to be able to support if you need any assistance at all throughout your degree. Our team of student support advisors really are that one-stop shop to loop you in with the extensive and really diverse range of support across the university. And they're all about promoting the development of skills that will help you navigate and succeed at university. For many students who are commencing postgraduate study, it might have been a while since you've studied at university. So now I want to talk about the support we offer specifically to help you refresh, develop, and hone your academic skills. We offer a series of workshops called Study Hacks for both new and returning students. These workshops help you familiarize yourself with everything that the library and academic skills teams have to offer, along with helping you to develop the key skills you'll need to succeed at UNSW. We also offer one-on-one support for our academic skills team, who can provide advice on things like referencing for academic writing, toolkits for avoiding plagiarism, and the standards of using generative AI. Our teams are available to assist and best advise on whatever support you may need. Now let's talk about employability. There is a reason why UNSW is #1 in Australia for employability, and it really is about the fact that we embed this from day one into your degree. We offer Career Explorer programs which help you navigate your UNSW employability journey with expert guidance to understand your motivations and professional interests, plan how to engage in employability programs throughout your degree, explore career pathways that will energize you, and ultimately design your experience at UNSW. We also have leadership foundation programs designed to help you discover your leadership identity and style and develop practical skills including self-awareness, collaboration and communication, building effective relationships, creating safe and inclusive teams, conflict management, and well-being and resilience. Additionally, UNSW's Career and Employment Office can link you with potential employers and help you develop the skills you need for your career beyond the classroom. They offer job opportunities, application resources, career planning, and networking events to expand your future career path. The UNSW Careers and Employment Service is also available for up to 18 months following your graduation, as I mentioned at the very beginning of our presentation tonight. Our team also offer workshops online for you to explore endless opportunities and gain valuable insights for a successful future. My #1 tip here really is to start engaging though with the Careers and Employability team from your first term. They're incredibly helpful and can assist from really day one. I speak to many students who at the very end of their degree suddenly go, okay, I've got all of this great content, skills, experience and networks under my belt, but what next in terms of actually translating that into a change in my career or what that next step looks like? But if you book in a career coaching session with one of the really knowledgeable staff in our Careers and Employability service, they can, from day one, literally sit down with you and help you plan out what every step of your studies will look like, but also how that's going to translate through into your professional career. So I really recommend that as my best tip, because rather than leaving it to the very end of your degree, if you start from day one, it also will help you get the most of a lot of the support that's available at UNSW as well. UNSW's Postgraduate Council provide information, support, representation and advice on issues that affect not only students at UNSW, but the wider postgraduate student population. They liaise with UNSW and external parties to represent and campaign for postgraduate students, and are dedicated to improving university life for all postgrad students, including mature-age students, students with partners and children, international students, and those who are doing research and/or coursework. Now, we've covered a lot of information to help you kickstart your postgraduate study with us, but if you still have some questions, please ask them in the chat so that our friendly and knowledgeable future student advisors can assist. It's now my pleasure to introduce to you, though, our panel of expert current postgraduate students who can provide you with some great insights into both their path to UNSW and what it's like as a current UNSW postgraduate student. Give us one moment as we reset the studio and invite them to come in and join us. Welcome back, everyone, and I hope you enjoyed some of that elevator music in the background there. It's given us time to reset here in the studio and welcome on board both Soumya and James, two of our current students here at UNSW doing their postgraduate studies with us. James is doing the Juris Doctor program, and Soumya is doing the Master of Public Health Extension combined with the Master of Health Leadership and Management, which we spoke about a little bit earlier as one of those programs that enables you to do 2 master's degrees within 2 years. So we're going to find out a little bit more about both of your stories very, very shortly. But on behalf of the audience, thank you both for joining us. It's wonderful to have you in the studio. So
thank you for having us.
Our absolute pleasure. Now, let's dive in and understand a little bit more about what your postgraduate experience has been like. So do you want to tell me, firstly, what year of your study you're in, and also how you found postgraduate studies so far? Soumya, do you want to kick things off?
Sure, thank you. I come from a medical and surgical background, and I was passionate about learning systems change and making care accessible to everybody. So I switched to public health and health leadership and management. COVID was a big reason for it as well.
I can only imagine.
I think the strong academic structure here is quite enticing. All the professors, they have quite international backgrounds, loads of experience.
Yep.
They come from everywhere across the world. So it's a good community to learn from.
Excellent. Well, look, I'm very glad to hear.
Thank you.
In terms of your degree, you were telling me just beforehand you're in your 5th term or thereabouts. You've done a bit over a year worth of study.
Right.
You have a little bit left in
Yes.
your master's.
Yeah. So initially adjusting to academic writing was a little bit daunting because coming from a medical background and clinical, we are kind of very, very used to shorthands.
Yep.
And then writing an entire essay, quite elaborative and to the point and following a certain structure was daunting. So academic skills team is like the best thing one should do at the start of joining their program here. I'll recommend it highly.
Brilliant.
Go there, take your time. If you don't understand, the academic support team is so very helpful. They'll kind of help you with timetables. They'll create programs for you. They even give you counseling. So just feel like they are helping. They are very approachable and they really, really want to help.
Excellent.
So
Well, I'm glad that you had such a good experience, I guess, as part of that transition, because it's true. I think we touched on it a little bit earlier, but people come from very, very different backgrounds to study postgraduate degrees. And it's actually one of the things that we hear from students a lot of the time they really enjoy is the fact that there is so much richness and diversity in terms of, the combination of local and international students in the classroom, people who have come from very different industries and backgrounds. And if you bring that melting pot together in the classroom, it enables innovation to occur because you're throwing all these different ideas around.
I agree with you. It actually does, because we are coming from such diverse backgrounds. So in public health, it's genuinely a mix of people, not all doctors.
Yep.
Definitely. A small chunk is doctors. People are coming from nursing backgrounds. People are coming from entirely non-medical backgrounds, and everybody gets together. Everybody brings experiences from their country or their region. There's a huge difference between Central Sydney Health District and the Northern Sydney Health District. So you learn about systems. You just don't it's not restricted to Australian system. It's actually very relevant worldwide.
Yep.
So you can take your degree and go anywhere across the world. They have work integrated learning. There are master classes. You actually get to interact with local health district CEOs, and there are regular master classes arranged for everyone. So it's quite eye-opening. It brings you right, the exposure is amazing, impressive.
Brilliant. Well, again, very keen to dive a little bit more into your experiences as we go throughout. But I'm going to throw over to James now. James, you've been waiting patiently there. Do you want to walk us through what your postgraduate experience has been like and also where you're at in your degree at the moment?
Yeah, for sure. So my postgraduate is in the Juris Doctor. So we study more the law side of things. And a lot of our classes are with the undergrad students. So you get a bit of that, networking with not just postgraduate students, but also the undergrads. And a big part of it is networking, as Sumya said. Unlike in medicine, where you have nursing and doctors that come from the medical field, we are even more broad. We have architects like myself. We've got medicine doctors coming through. We've got people from all different types of industries coming to learn a little bit at the law. And it's interesting because the law is everywhere, right? You got so much legislation, so you can really combine and understand a different part of your industry through studying the law. And when you graduate, you have that connection. You may want a medical malpractice lawyer, or you may want a construction lawyer. So these are some areas of law that you may not have tapped into before, and now that you're learning right next to them, it's very interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I think that knowledge sharing is critical. Obviously, you're learning from people who are researchers, often globally renowned researchers in their fields, who are sometimes bringing into the classroom research that hasn't even been published yet. So that's the the advantage of kind of getting that close connection on the academic side. But I think that's really important as well. That there is also the fact that the people you're studying in the classroom with bring their own wealth of knowledge, and it is that knowledge transfer at the end of the day that enables that transformative learning.
I agree with you. It's a melting pot. As in, you're saying that bringing your own point of views. There's a big founders program, and we are learning to create our own softwares, own startups, and that's all available for free. UNSW takes classes every week to help you develop your leadership and your potential to carry your own step forward. Create your own thing.
Look, I think that's the advantage of being a global top 20 university with more than 70,000 students. Everything from, as you say, the UNSW Founders Program, which is where a lot of our entrepreneurial opportunities and startups come from, all the way through to the makerspaces on campus, which are where a lot of our design fabrication technology is, 3D printers, and they're available for all students to access. You obviously have to be inducted first before you use some of the really cool technology, but you can do the inductions and you can go and access that whenever you want. And we often see students from very different backgrounds, very different faculties and study areas coming together. They've got a great idea. They they play around and run with it, and then they take it through to founders. And at the end of the founders 10x program, for example, we actually get a whole bunch of venture capitalists into the room because they know that this is where some of the brightest minds are, and they want to see what some of those cutting edge ideas and innovative concepts are. And we enable our students to then pitch to venture capitalists. We see students becoming CEOs at the age of 20, 21 because they've got some brilliant ideas. They've taken some of that support and they've really run with it. We've got plenty of time to dive into, again, a lot of the questions that are flowing through as well from those who are here in the virtual room with us. So keep asking your questions in the chat and we'll make sure that we answer as many as we can throughout. But I'm really keen to understand a little bit more about what drove you to postgraduate study. So maybe I might stay with James and I'll throw back to you, Soumya. James, what drove you to consider doing postgraduate study? You said your background was in architecture. Why the change to do the Juris Doctor?
Yeah, so it's a good question. When I first graduated from high school, I decided to go into architecture, but my interest was always in law. I wanted to do law. And it never really came to me to pursue law after architecture. I just gave it a shot.
Yep.
You mentioned applications before. That was me a year and a half ago,
Yep.
applying for the JD, and I got it. And I decided, why not? And as I mentioned before, we've got so much interplay with the law. What I do now is in planning law. So I work on trying to get those developments approved when I used to work on how to get those developments even to council, So working with that gives you a holistic idea of what the industry needs and what we are progressing towards. And even studying the law, understanding what the words mean, what the statutes mean, is very helpful. And also the logic of how you learn and how you go towards life is very, very useful when learning law. So I think there's there's no disadvantage studying law.
Yeah.
So I think if you have the chance to do it, go for it.
Fair enough. And I might say with you just for another moment as well, you kind of alluded to there that you're working at the same time. So the Juris Doctor can be done full-time or part-time. Which one are you doing and what kind of work are you doing at the same time?
Yeah, so I think, in my personal opinion, law is very heavy. So obviously it may not be the same workload that some other degrees are facing. Currently, I'm working 3 days a week.
Yep.
I study 2 days a week. So those are my weekdays gone. When I do study, it's 3 classes a day, 2 hours per class.
Okay. Yep.
So it's 6 hours days. And then I do reading on the weekends, reading at night to try and cover what I miss in class. And then you have exams and you have assignments. So balancing is, you got to manage your time. It is possible, but you need to have that timetable processing embedded as well.
Yeah, and it sounds like it really depends on the particular degree that you're studying as to what that balance might look like. And you're going down that route of doing full-time study with part-time work. But I definitely know a lot of students who do the JD as well that you'd be studying with, they're doing the opposite. They're actually working full-time and they're doing the JD part-time. And that flexibility is really what we try to embed across all of our postgraduate degrees where possible, because it does mean that you can get that work-life balance that's so essential.
Yeah, exactly right. Like so many students in the JD are parents or they have families of their own, and that flexibility, if you're not working full-time, you'll probably be a parent full-time.
Yeah.
So currently my timetable is stacked 9 to 6, but there's no reason why you can't go 6 to 8, 4 days a week, if that suits you better.
Yeah.
Obviously, you got to come to uni more, but we've got such a lovely campus that it doesn't really matter.
No, that's a very fair point. All right, well, let's go to you, Soumya. What drove you to consider doing postgraduate study? What was the driver for you?
I've always been interested in system change and helping communities and well-being of the people. Being a doctor, I was treating patients at the end stages of things. Like now you need intervention. But in public health, we can kind of start dealing with those problems from the start, making policies and doing good hospital management to catch the patients in the early stages. So not to have a longer, healthier life, basically, not to deal with the patients at only the end stage, like you are ready to operate on them, not at that point.
More of that kind of preventative, medicine and proactivity rather than that reactivity that I think we're moving towards across a lot of the different domains.
Exactly. So if we change policies from the start, then a person lives a longer, healthier life. If we change policies at the later point of life, then a person is basically living an unhealthy life and struggling with everything. So trying to improve the systems from the start, making everything better. And then COVID happened, and I saw in like my real practice how we were struggling, how the hospitals were struggling, how there were a few tragedies among my colleagues as well. So seeing that, I just really wanted to do more.
I think that makes
hence
perfect,
the switch.
That makes perfect sense. And I guess there's also a volume element there as well in terms of working one-on-one with patients versus doing something across public health where you're talking about policy change, which is going to affect so many people on a much larger scale. So really interesting. We might dive into a few of the questions that we're getting in. I've got my colleagues in the wings who are frantically kind of throwing the questions here onto the iPad. So I'm keen to answer a few of these. Quite a few are very admissions-focused questions. I really encourage you, if you're joining online, to reach out to our future student advisors. They are available from 9 to 5 throughout the week, and you can reach out to us via phone, live chat, email inquiries. Just jump onto our website, type in UNSW future students or UNSW ask a question, and you can pop your questions in there as well or engage with them at any point throughout the future journey that you'll go down here as you're considering postgraduate study. I'll answer as many as I can though in the interim and equally throw to our current students here. Now, we've got a question around applying for scholarships, and it is when do you apply for scholarships? I guess as we kind of alluded to before, it really depends on the program that you're studying, but for the most part, for postgraduate study, you'll actually apply for your scholarships up front. There's a really helpful search and apply tool on our UNSW Scholarships website. So if you go type in UNSW Scholarships into your preferred search engine, and it's a how to apply page, which really allows you to filter based on your particular area of study and your background. So you might say, I'm a postgraduate student applying for the Faculty of Medicine and Health, and it'll then filter out all of the scholarships that are not relevant and just leave those that are relevant to you. And for the most part, it's one application that covers you for most scholarships. Now, that's upfront as a prospective student. There are also scholarships available for current students, though. So it is worthwhile always jumping back onto that scholarships website and making sure that you're checking it regularly to see if there's any other scholarships you might be eligible for. Students can also be eligible for awards and prizes throughout their study, and they might be things that you apply for in terms of particular competitions that we run, or academic awards and prizes based on academic performance. So for the most part, as we say, it's applying up front, and it's being really proactive because we give out around about $73 million worth of scholarships every year. And it really is about ensuring that you're putting your best foot forward. So make sure that you spend some time building out a really detailed application, putting your best foot forward in terms of ensuring you're really highlighting and upselling all the great achievements that you've got, so that we can make a really informed decision, because it's about supporting you. Whether it's an equity scholarship, a merit scholarship, it's about supporting you to get the most out of your studies. And we really want students who are going to be actively involved, like some of our current students here, but actively involved in the UNSW student community and making the most of the opportunities available. The next question that we've got here is about deferring an offer. Is it possible to defer an offer? The answer is yes. Many offers can be deferred for a year, but it does depend on the particular program of study, and it's worth always having a look on our website to double check that the particular program you're looking to apply for enables deferrals. And again, most of them do, but it also does depend sometimes on your particular fee structure, because if you get a CSP place, they sometimes can be deferred for up to a year, but they again, are very competitive, as we discussed before. So it really does depend on the particular terms and conditions of your offer letter. But yes, it is possible to defer a large number of our programs, generally for up to 12 months, with some exceptions. Another question that we've got here is, what is the makeup of postgraduate students in terms of age range and backgrounds? We've kind of spoken a little bit about the backgrounds in terms of having people from very different industries in the classroom. I wonder if we can talk kind of broadly here in terms of the age demographics. What does it look like in the classroom, say for you, Soumya, doing your master's in population health?
In population health, we have like ages right out of university, like right out of graduation, to people who are members of mature age society who are into lifelong learning. So they have like retired from their job. Now they are still continuing to learn. So like it's a diverse age group. The cohort is really engaging, and you get to learn from experiences. Some people do feel overwhelmed, like right when you're starting. I was kind of feeling very inadept in front of people who have a background in. Already they have been leading hospitals and they have been leading military health services, but they are still trying to polish their skills of leadership and management here. Because the leadership management program, this was the first program that started here in UNSW. It's 60 years old, and the best research comes from here.
Excellent. Look, I think that's a glowing recommendation for the Master of Health Leadership and Management, and indeed it is the oldest of its kind in Australia, that program. And we've educated many health leaders who have gone on globally to make a massive impact. James, you were talking about how for some of the Juris Doctor units that you do, you actually study with some of the undergraduate students as well. So I imagine there's quite a diverse range of backgrounds and ages in terms of the kinds of people that you're engaging with in the classroom. Is that very similar to what Soumya was saying?
Yeah, for sure. I think the JD is one of those degrees where the saying is never too late to make a change, and JD allows you to become a practicing lawyer when you finish. Similar to your undergrad, where you do a double degree commerce law subject and you come out and become a lawyer, or you can be a finance guru. Like me, I did architecture. And then I decided, okay, I want to come do law and do a 3-year degree, and then I jump out and then become a lawyer. So you have those that demographic. You also have demographic from international countries that come from a civil law background. We practice in a common law country. So countries like China, European countries where they're qualified, they're already as lawyers, and they come here and they want to practice here. They come to a JD. So that your older students, maybe 30s, 35s. And that also gives you a lot of different opportunities to network with other students from different countries. After that, you have your mature age students who come and say, if they've done the degrees, the jobs for 20, 30 years, and say, I want to change. So they come back and do a law degree. It's very quick, 3 years. And they practice law. So in the classroom, you have, as you said, undergrads, so 18, 19-year-olds. You have young JDs, and all the way up to older JD students. So it's a very diverse.
I guess a very wide range of experiences more than anything. And I think it kind of comes back to what we were saying at the very beginning of the panel, that it is that breadth of shared experiences and knowledge that makes postgraduate study so rich. It's the content that you're learning, obviously, on the academic front, but it's also how you can apply that and how other people can apply it as well. And you can see it, being really brought into very varied contexts. So
I agree with you. It's demonstrated in action. Like when we go to master classes, we are being taught by people who are practicing public health. They are managing the health systems. They talk about what problems they face, how to deal with situations, how they managed the COVID thing, how they managed changing from to electronic systems. how to switch the entire work force to one system and try and make them agree to the change that public health is educating through data and everything. So you get to learn a lot. There was a panel about the law change, the policy change, NDIS is there as well. So there's a lot to learn.
Brilliant. And I think that's, as you're saying, the masterclass element is really where we try to bring in and leverage the fact that we have some phenomenal industry connections and industry partners. Bringing them into the classroom just means that you're getting to engage with them firsthand and really understand how to translate what you're learning inside the classroom into that real world environment. Now, I am conscious of the time. We are rapidly running out of time for the rest of our panel. I do want to ask you a question because we've got a question here around what the workload is like. And we've kind of touched a little bit on it, but I'm keen to know, as UNSW has a term structure for a wide range of our programs, we also have our hexamester structure for some of our other postgrad degrees. But in terms of the term structure, it's 10 weeks of teaching and then your exam period after that. How do you find it in terms of that work-life balance? And really, what is that study load like? And James, I might start with you and then move to you, Soumya.
Yeah, so it's very fast-paced, which can be a good thing, can be a bad thing, depending on how you look at it. Fast-paced means graduating faster, but it also means during term you're very stressed. The workload gets very heavy. Right. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. It just means that you need to understand that there is something that you need to manage and have that expectation that you need to get on top of your learning. So yeah, the term structure does make a big difference, but I think it's very manageable and a lot of people seem to like it.
Yeah, well, look, I've actually, I've engaged with a lot of students across my role here at the university, and speaking to a lot of postgraduate students in particular, they do talk about how it's really useful being able to kind of dial up or dial down the amount of units that you're doing, at a time as part of your degree, because there is that flexibility there, particularly for local students who can go down to part-time. And I guess you were talking about how there might be a high workload for a certain subject. It might be a subject that is a compulsory subject, but maybe not one that you're particularly looking forward to. And I know that a lot of students will really kind of get strategic in terms of how they plan out the number of subjects they're doing at a time, and might go down to doing just one subject for a term if it's going to be a subject that is really demanding. And I think that's a real benefit of that term structure. But it's about making it work for you at the end of the day. What about you, Soumya? How have you found it?
I've taken a dual degree, which is like excessive. My mother declared that I've gone crazy. But it is a rigorous workload and it's quite academically demanding. Yep. So as I was saying at the start, you kind of need to manage your timetable. If you're having problem, go to the library advisors. They help you with your timetables. If you're having problem, then one should also try and see about special considerations and extensions. There's also ELS support for people who need
I should say the acronym there for everyone at home, the Equitable Learning Services.
There's a very strong Equitable Learning Services program here, and they are very kind and understanding people. They help and there are a lot of supports that you get from them. So try and think what plan you want, plan ahead, because like in dual degrees like mine, per subject, because it's a trimester system, so per subject, you have to spend 10 hours a week. So if you're taking 3 subjects, then it just multiplies.
It's about the equivalent of a full-time study.
It definitely is.
I guess that's where it depends on kind of what your particular study goals are, and I guess the speed as well, because we were talking before around the Juris Doctor program. That can be done part-time over 6 years. So some students will be in full-time work, in very demanding jobs, but just chipping away gradually, doing a subject with that longer-term timeline, knowing that that's going to really kind of boost their career and employability prospects long-term. But they're not really in a rush. It's kind of ticking along alongside it. Whereas, you're studying full time, so it's a very different scenario.
Yeah, I agree with you because the one that I was talking about, mature age society. So from there, they only do like one course per term. They take it slow and they do it well. Doing it well is the goal, basically. Either you do full course if you are like that, if you can commit to that much, but you can also do it in parts. You have part-time studies. You have all the options available. You have to tailor the program as it suits you best, and make sure that you are doing it well, because it is a rigorous program, but it pays you well. This degree is well known. If you take UNSW degree somewhere, you are regarded with respect, and it opens doors.
Brilliant. Look, that actually felt like a really nice way to kind of end tonight's presentation. But I'm going to really be a bit cheeky and ask one final question of both of you. I'm going to answer the question first because I feel like I need to give you both a little bit of time to think of your answers. But for everyone who's joining us online, if you've got one piece of advice about why you should consider going back and doing postgraduate study, what would your one piece of advice be? I'm going to kick things off and say really that I think it's about thinking outside of the box and really challenging yourself. I engage with a lot of postgraduate students in my role, and it's a real privilege that I get to have. But I see the diverse impact that they're making across their careers, but equally the way in which they contribute to the UNSW community and make it such a rich, diverse, exciting place to learn and to grow. And that fundamentally is really what makes UNSW such a wonderful place to be. I'm going to throw over to you, James. You look like you're ready with an answer. What's your one piece of advice to those who are joining us here tonight?
So my one piece of advice is, as postgrad students, we've been out of the uni for a while from our undergraduate studies, and the uni offers so much opportunity. So, for example, in the law school, you have opportunities to do moots, so competitions that you wouldn't get the chance to do outside of uni. And it gives you a platform to really understand what you like and what you don't like, and a very safe space with people that study with you, and that also talks to your network. So coming in with an open mind and understanding that you may not like something, but that's fine. You can choose what you do like, and that's why studying at UNSW is so great, because you have so many different minds and that feed your ideas that you can just run with.
Brilliant. That was a very good response. I put you on the spot, so you've handled that very well under pressure. Soumya, do you want to round this out? What's your one piece of advice to those joining us online?
I think taking on masters is amazing. Either you're switching to something or you're polishing what you already have. You get to experience at UNSW a variety of role. There is huge opportunity to networking. There is huge opportunities for career development programs. As I was alluding to it earlier, like there is a founders program, then there's work integrated learning. There are options for internship. And if you're doing extension thing, then there are options for research, which directly puts you right, sets you up to get the job that you want as soon as you graduate. So try and keep an open mind, engage with your peers. There's a huge bunch of communities around UNSW. We have all kinds of club that you can imagine. Then there is student councils. I am part of one. I was feeling really lonely at the start, and that gave me a sense of community, very strong sense of community. So I recommend UNSW with my full heart.
Excellent. Again, a very nice note to end things on. Look, a round of virtual applause from those who are joining us online for both James and Soumya. You've been phenomenal. It's been great getting to hear a bit about your stories and what you're passionate about. And I wish you both the best of luck for your future careers as well. We can't wait to see where you go on to pursue I guess what those next steps look like, but also, wishing you every success.
Thank you for having us.
Our pleasure. Now, I apologize to anyone who threw questions into the chat and we weren't able to get through to them this time round. As you can see on the current slide, if you still have questions that haven't been answered, or if you want some extra advice to support you as you go throughout your postgraduate journey, I really encourage you to reach out to our really knowledgeable and friendly future student advisors directly. My colleagues are always happy to have a chat with you, walk you through the various degree options that might be suited to your particular study area, and also make sure that they can help you plan out what your unique pathway to UNSW might look like. I do hope that we're able to provide you with hopefully some great advice. I think there's a lot of wisdom that kind of came out of the panel discussion. I really enjoyed that myself, and hopefully it's given you a bit of an insight into what it's like to study postgraduate degrees here at UNSW. So thank you again for joining us, and we very much look forward to welcoming you to UNSW very soon. Wishing you a great night ahead, and hopefully we'll see you on campus very shortly. Cheers.